Welcome to Virtual Assisting in the 21st Century. Information on this new virtual assisting world. As a person who has been working in this administrative world for over 10 years consistently, of which 8 of those years was a virtual telecommuting executive assistant for a small MPO, I have watched my industry that before 2008's global economical crash have more jobs than there were admins, literally change into an industry that had more admins than there were jobs. The 2008 crash not only decimated the administrative industry along with others, but from what I have seen, it has forever changed it, and not all for the better. So as I've watched this industry slowly trickle back to life around 2013, with that trickle came the birth of this 21st century global virtual assisting world. This is a virtual assisting world that prior to 2013 simply didn't have the plethora of online virtual assisting agencies, cloud-based marketplaces for professional administrative or executive assistants, project managers, or high-skilled freelancers to just easily access potential clients and employers from all around the world to offer their services to. And some of the online marketplaces that employers can either source virtual support or where virtual support can submit proposals for contracts to clients and employers from every corner of the world are online marketplaces such as Upwork, People Per Hour, Guru, Jobliss, and Freelancer. And I'm sure there are many more out there, but these are some of the top ones that online employers are using to access virtual support. So anyway, let's move on to what makes this new virtual assisting world possible. Today, what makes this new virtual assisting world even possible where a client or an employer can work with virtual support from anywhere around the world in a variety is actually the variety of cloud-based applications that are out there. And some of the top ones that are being used by most employers now for virtual support are Basecamp, Confluence, 17 Hats, Evernote, and Google Docs. There's different features to each one, so each business will have to do their own research to make sure that they choose the right one for their type of business. And another great thing about these cloud-based applications is that some of them come with an app for the smartphone or the tablet. So for virtual support, these apps are great if you need to be on the go when supporting a client, as you can be in contact with them when running an important task or having to go to an important doctor's appointment. And for clients and employers, you need to keep in mind that when you select one of these applications, and if you select one with an app, the app will also benefit you as well, as you'll be able to not only delegate when you're on the road or on vacation or at an important appointment, but you'll be able to stay in communication with your support or your team if you have a team of other employees working on a project, and be able to see everyone's workflow so that you know that the work is getting done, and you can feel confident that you're getting what you're paying everyone for. Then there are some cloud-based applications that are just for calendar management, such as, in addition to Google Calendar, everybody knows that one. But these apps can actually sync up with your Google Calendar. So if you're a client or an employer who likes to use Google Calendar as well to document your stuff, your virtual support can either also use Google Calendar, sorry, or they can use one of these calendar applications such as Doodle. That comes with an app for the smartphone. And then there's Calendly. I'm not sure if this application comes with an app right now. They're probably working on one. So I would recommend that whether you're a potential employer considering using virtual support or someone wanting to get into supporting a client virtually, that you get into the know and get on YouTube and watch the various tutorials for the various cloud-based applications that I noted earlier so that you can get into the game of virtual assisting in the 21st century. Next, I'm going to discuss some of the issues with this new virtual assisting industry. As this new virtual assisting world continues to mold and shape itself into an industry, I personally believe in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be more common and bigger than it is now. As with all new things, especially in this case with this new marketplace, there are many issues that in time I just hope will not exist, that I personally just find frustrating with this industry since I started in it almost a year ago. So today I'm going to discuss 4 of the biggest issues I've discovered since getting into the virtual support industry. The first one is the common use of the term virtual assistant for all the various different types of virtual support admin roles that are out there in the various job descriptions. To me, I believe this is being done by inexperienced individuals or people just simply seeing other people using the term virtual assistant and the various job descriptions and just thinking, oh, this is what you're supposed to use in this new marketplace and so forth. I would say think about it like this. If you were looking to hire an administrative assistant in your community to come into your office or your home to provide you with admin support, the only difference is in this marketplace, most people are looking to perform the work virtually. This means if you're looking to hire an administrative assistant, an executive assistant, or project manager, you're still going to use the position name. You're simply just adding the word virtual to the beginning of that position. And what that will do for someone like me, a virtual support, looking at your posting in one of these online marketplaces, is I know, oh, this particular opportunity you want me to perform virtually through the computer, hopefully using one of the cloud-based applications that we discussed earlier. So I highly recommend that you check out my other video, to hire or not to hire virtual support, where I break down the different positions in more detail with job descriptions and kind of to show the difference, because there is a position of virtual assistant. It's just what they do is kind of varied. So I break it down in a little more detail in the video. And I also give you, as an employer out there watching this video, projected compensation ballpark ranges so that you have a more of an idea of, the different rates and why they exist and so forth. So I highly, highly recommend that you check that out. Then now on to the second issue that I have come across in this new industry. And it is with people noting in their posting that they want a virtual support to be on standby and available to them 4 to 12 hours per day to perform quick same day turnaround tasks or projects when they contact them. Now, once again, I personally believe that the people who are putting this in their posting are simply just inexperienced individuals and employers who are treating this new industry like the wild, wild west of, hey, if I can ask for anything or the sun, moon, and stars, then I simply just will. Really acting void of any just common sense labor law rules, or let's just say human decency and human etiquette, and making such a far-fetched, ridiculous claim without really understanding the relationship that is happening in this virtual support world using the online platforms. So to clearly kind of explain to those potential employers who may be watching this video right now, and to, also virtual support out there, why this logic is a little, doesn't make sense, is it's the equivalent of having an admin assistant come and show up at your establishment to work from 9 to 5. And at the end of the day, you say, well, I'm only going to pay you for about 4 hours of work. And they kind of look at you like, well, I've been here for 8 hours. I should be paid for 8. And you're like, well, you really were actually only performing a task or project I delegated to you within those 4 hours. Now, this is what's happening in the virtual assisting world, with some individuals and employers kind of having that type of expectation and belief system. Now, you know that no assistant would physically make the investment in time and money to come into your physical establishment and sit there on the computer and perform work or wait around for you to delegate tasks and projects to them and not expect to be paid for the full 8 hours of availability. Whether they're, doing something or surfing the net, they're available to you for possibility of same day tasks. Well, as I said, this is what's happening in the virtual assisting world. And I think the reason why it's happening is because some people are just kind of ignorant to the type of people who are doing this. There's this perception by some, not all, employers out there that the people who do virtual support through this new online marketplace that has now become available to various admins is that these people are unemployable. They're probably not good at being an admin, or they're somebody at home who has nothing to do all day with their time, maybe a stay-at-home mother, or just somebody who's unemployable, maybe doing this as a hobby or to earn a little extra pocket money. Let's just clear that misconception right now. Remove that thought from your mind. This is simply a new avenue in which professional admins with experience who are not unemployable but maybe making a personal choice that, hey, this is a new marketplace, a new opportunity avenue in which I can go and source administrative work. You're not getting the worst of society's admin world. These are professional, qualified people with certifications and, work experience doing the job, and are doing this actually to earn a living. Their business is them selling themselves to you to provide you with administrative support. So they are doing this work as a business to earn an income to live off of. And if they choose to allot 12 hours of their day, they need to be working 12 hours of their day. And if you're not going to pay them for the 12 or 4 or 8 hours to be available at your beck and call, they need to take on other contracts at that time, which means they are available if they're available within the window. So hopefully potential employers who maybe had this in their mind, that was the scenario in which people in this format are and are working, please remove that. And you're not going to garner the best applicants for your job if you put that in your posting. Someone like me with my level of senior experience would not even entertain your posting for an executive assistant to provide on-demand services, because you're requesting that I be available just to you. I have to earn a living. So I need to have contracts and hours filled up within that 12 or 10 or 8 hour window that I'm looking to provide my services to as a contractor. So, just keep that in mind, that, doing that is simply not going to get you the best support that your business may need. And, that you're costing me money because I need to be working every hour within whatever window I create. So once again, highly recommend that you check out my video to hire or not to hire virtual support, because I'm also going to give tips and suggestions in that video on how to maximize your administrative dollars so that you can hire the best person to provide support without having to even put such a request in your posting. But I will provide another one that I did come up with in this video on how to get that same day, maybe I'll need you projects and tasks done. And the way you can do that is, instead of contracting one person on a please, wait around for me to need you, but I'm not going to pay you for 4 to 12 hours, whatever you choose. Instead, think of contracting 2 to 3 virtual supports and have them in priority order. So you'll contact your number one, hopefully through a cloud-based application or email or text if you have their number, and you will say, hey, I have this same day project task that I would like, someone to perform and deliver to me end of day this time, whatever it is. And then that first virtual support will be able to see that request right away on their smartphone or on their computer and be able to respond to you and say, sorry, I'm at a doctor's appointment, or I have this issue, or I'm working for another client. And then you can go and offer that to your number two. And if they're available, then great. If not, your number three. That way, it's very rare that three would not be available at some point to provide that support. That way, you don't have to pay your number one to wait around for you to hopefully need them. But, you can still get that same day support or on demand support that you need. But you need to also be flexible. Don't say you need something same day when really you don't. You just need it to be done as soon as possible. So be realistic if you're going to create that dynamic. Is that, you put out the offer, you have your tier system. Number one gets first refusal, number two gets second refusal, and then there's number three. And hopefully one of those three can perform your task. That way, you're only paying, whether you're paying $5, $15 an hour, 18, whatever type of support you're looking for, you're only paying for that actual task, and you don't have to waste time or money paying somebody to wait around. Now I'm going to go on to the third issue I have with this new marketplace, and that is that sadly, I've learned that this marketplace is not only just available to virtual supports in high cost of living countries, but it's also available to virtual supports in low cost of living countries as well. This is a little frustrating, as it makes competing for contracts difficult for those of us living in high cost of living countries such as myself, like the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, parts of Europe, and parts of Asia, especially with this industry being so new and people still figuring everything out, including what is the proper compensation for the type of duties, responsibilities, and tasks that you're being requested to perform. And so this is a thing that you'll find a little bit frustrating, is that this new online marketplace is expanded the various contractors that can compete for contracts. So it can make it difficult for those of us living in high cost of living countries such as myself. And then finally, on to the fourth issue, which kind of tags along with the third one that I just discussed there. And that fourth issue is that there are some virtual supports out there, all around the world, but some in high cost of living countries, who are bidding excessively low rates to get a contract without clearly understanding the difference between just throwing any number out there and hope that, something sticks and that you get a job out of it, and knowing the proper way to compile based on what the job posting is that the person is requesting, what they're asking for, to build your hourly rate that you're going to put in your proposal request to them, or your weekly fee. A lot of people don't understand. You're a contractor, and this is for virtual support. You're a contractor. Your business is you and your skills that you're going to sell to somebody. Now, it is an open market, so you can offer whatever number you want, but with that kind of throwing everything out there, especially for this is mostly for people who live in high cost of living countries, but this is also for virtual supports in low cost of living countries because the same rules for most people, even in low cost of living countries, apply. And that is that you have overhead expenses. Whether you're in a low cost of living country or not, you have to pay for your electricity to come into your home or apartment. You have to run your computer and your lights, right? You need internet access depending on where you live. You may have to pay more money to purchase high-speed internet access as opposed to dial up through a phone line, and that comes with an extra charge. Then you may have to get data, a lot of data, unlimited data for your phone if you're using an app, or you have to communicate with your employer and or their clients through your smartphone by sending data. So once again, you know what you need to use to service your clients, and anything that touches the client or services a client is called overhead costs. Now, for some of you, maybe if you live more local to your employer and you're going to be going into their office, or you're going to be kind of having to meet with them at a coffee shop and transfer physical documents and files over, you may be printing it on your computer. Now, the company may say, take this package of paper home so you can print that, whatever it is, for me and bring it to our meeting on Friday. Maybe meet once a week, but you're using your ink in your printer, the electricity to run your printer. Maybe you have to, purchase other parts to your computer if you have a multifunctioning printer, fax scanner. So there are things that come into play that the employer is saving. So these are things you need to know. Anything that touches the employer that you have to use to provide the service needs to be calculated in. So basically, you take that number of whatever it is. For most people, that number will probably be about, between $40 to $100 US. So for people who are doing any type of part-time on-demand work, you're going to probably charge about 1% of whatever that number for your overhead expenses is. So for your thing like your cell phone, if you're not making calls to your employer or doing anything else but using data on your phone, then you're not taking the entire bill of your phone and taking the 1%. You're pulling the data fee out of your invoice, and that's what you're adding for your computer and lights. You're not taking the grand total of your lights, but maybe you'll take your bill of maybe $50 a month US or $25 a month US, whatever it is, and you'll divide it by 2, half for providing the support and half for your personal use of lights and electricity and so forth. Add those numbers together, take your 1%. If you're doing full-time, then it's about 2%. So full-time is between 25 to 40 hours a week. Then you would take 2% of that number and add it on to your hourly rate. So, for example, if you're going to bill a client $10 an hour, that's what you need to live off of. That's money to pay your bills, your mortgage, your credit card bill, your life insurance, your health insurance, transportation, medical, food, etc. That's your bills to live off of. That's what you're trying to earn income to, hopefully through this format, pay your bills. You need to you may think, okay, well, for me, I know if I'm making $10 an hour, I can live off of that. But that's not what you bill the client, because now you're take the expenses that you're taking on, electricity, data, that client isn't having to incur. So you still have to recoup some of that. So how you do that is that your overhead fees, you multiply it by either 1 or 2% based on full-time or part-time, and you add that on. So on a, let's say, $60 a month overhead expense, that 1% would be about 60 cents. So now you're at 10.60. Now, In most first world countries, virtual support have to pay income tax once a year on the income they earn, and it is usually between 20 and 30%. So when you add that 60 cents for your overhead expense recoupment onto that fictitious $10 an hour US base rate that you need to live off of, you then need to take that rate now of $10.60 US an hour and multiply it by, I'll use the highest number, 30% income tax rate, which would then work out to about $3.18. That now has to then be added on top of the 1060, which would bring you to about $13 and I think 76 cents US. So that is how you properly compile your hourly rate so that you aren't at a deficit and that you're recouping the expenses to service the client for whatever said position. So, once again, if you're doing project management, you're using the same calculations. You'll obviously be in the higher rate of maybe 18 to $30 an hour. So you still know what you need to live off of. So if $20 is what you need to live, then you're doing that calculation to then come up with a final number to cover those overhead and income tax costs you will incur. So you may decide to round it up to, about 14 to $15 an hour on a contract. Now, if you have to pay online cloud-based fees, some of these online cloud-based marketplaces that we discussed early on in the presentation where you can find these contracts charge a percentage of your hourly rate or flat fee. So you need to also compile that in, if you're using those avenues to access work, into your calculation as well when you can compile your rate. As if you don't do those calculations, then you are actually, if you use the fictitious $10 an hour, you're really only making about $6 to $7 an hour or even less, and you're actually eating the $3 to $4. Now, I don't know who likes to work for free, but basically you are, because you're going to incur those expenses at a later time. And because it's not immediate, you don't see it. So a lot of people don't even know that that $10 they never really earned. It was much less because they're doing these things maybe at the end of the year, the end of the month. So, it's invisible expenses you're incurring. So just keep that in mind when you're coming up with your hourly rate, because you're saving the employer, what they would have had to have paid the government fee on behalf of an employee who they would have hired to work physically in their establishment as an employee. So the employer is at a win. So even when you add those expenses in, they're still winning. I mean, they're not paying anywhere the taxes they would have had they hired a physical person to come in. And this applies to even those living in low cost of living countries. Don't skip on that. I personally think assistants in low cost of living countries should be charging market rate for their service per hour or week. But it's a new place and everybody's just trying to figure it out and earn some income to provide for themselves and their families. So I think in time, people in low cost of living countries won't be charging such an excessively low rate, and will be more closer in line to an even balance with people in high cost of living countries. And these are just some of the frustrating downsides to me of some of the issues when it comes to this new virtual assisting world, and some of the marketplaces out there, for employers. And just a note to employers out there, another thing with this low cost of living country and high cost of living country, because I think some people are receiving proposals, through these cloud-based applications, and they see somebody submit a request to provide admin support, and they'll put maybe $5 or $7 an hour, and then somebody will show 15 or 12, and the person's like, what? Why is there such a variance? Like, who are these people asking 15 and 12? How dare they? Are they trying to gouge me? Please don't interpret that. What you're actually seeing is the difference between people in a high cost of living country and a low cost of living country. Now, if where your virtual support doesn't matter to you, they can live anywhere, low cost of living country, high cost of living country, time zone is not important, then, definitely, if you find that you feel they're qualified for your position, take that low paying person in a low cost of living country. But if you require your admin to live in a high cost of living country or same time zone as you, and you also live in one of the high cost of living countries I mentioned, which are the US, Canada, UK, Australia, parts of Europe, and parts of Asia, then that is one of the reasons why you're seeing that 12, 15, 18, $20 an hour request for a certain role, when maybe at a future time or a past time when you posted something for maybe a similar job because you didn't really know if you needed them to be in your time zone and you were getting lower numbers, that's an indicator. So please don't look at those higher per hour proposals and think you're being, disrespected and gouged. It's just giving you an indicator of where the person possibly lives in regard to high cost of living country, low cost of living country. And yeah, but with this new and growing industry still being in its infancy, I think in time these issues and kinks will work themselves out for the better for all admin supports and for employers and individuals out there as everyone gets a better understanding of this virtual assisting world, and some of the standards and guidelines will be more fine-tuned and created for everybody to kind of have a better understanding of what's going on. Now, on to where this new virtual assisting industry may go from here. So, in 2016, as I record this new online video for virtual assisting, the world is continuing to shrink and economies are becoming more global. And the online world is not only going to bring a wider pool of customers to a business, no matter where they are in the world, but also see more and more new online and home-based businesses be created, and those businesses will require some form of virtual support. And it will be these current and new cloud-based applications to come that are going to help small, medium, and large size businesses manage their administrative support and their team of other virtual employees or contractors, helping them work on projects, manage their work virtually, and you're able to see their workload in real time. This will help employers feel more comfortable that even though they are paying their virtual support a more livable hourly wage for those living in a high cost of living country or weekly rate, it is actually for work being produced daily or weekly that they can see being executed and documented. And I honestly believe that in the next 10 years, contracting a virtual administrative assistant or virtual executive assistant or project manager will be more normal, and we'll have better parameters and just structure, and not this wild west that it appears to be today. I'd like to thank you for watching this video presentation. If you found this video informative, then I hope you will like it. And also don't forget to watch my other video to hire or not to hire virtual support. And also subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. And also note in my info box below that I have links to my blog where I do discuss some other areas of being a virtual support. So how to build a contract, which is very helpful when you're trying to contract yourself out, and also just information on how to set up your office space depending on the type of virtual supporting you want to do. So hopefully you'll go and click on those links and check out my other information blogs on virtual supporting in the 21st century. Thank you for watching.